Today on the pod, we have a foreigner. That's right. This guy's from England. He does have a few redeeming qualities about him, though. Qualities like drinking coffee instead of tea and calling soccer soccer. I would like to invite Connor Watts to the merchandise show. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you, Randy. Glad to be here. Happy to be here with you.
All right, so the date that we're recording this is July 5th. I want to know, as an Englishman, did you celebrate Independence Day yesterday?
Of course I did. Yeah. I'm about
Was
as American as it gets now, Randy. Don't get me wrong. Listen, I'm proud to be where I'm from and proud to be an Englishman. My family's heritage is actually very mixed: English, Irish, French, Moroccan. But I believe America is the greatest country on the planet. There's a reason why I'm here. So I'm definitely going to celebrate in the Freedom Day, Independence Day.
I love that. I love that. All right. So, just to get things kicked off here, okay? Because we all want to know. All of us Americans want to know what is the difference between England, Great Britain, and the UK?
Okay, so England is a country,
Okay.
and the United Kingdom and Great Britain basically the same thing. There's just a different name, but the same thing. There probably is a difference. Like I couldn't even tell you exactly what the difference is between why UK and Great Britain. But UK and Great Britain is made up of a couple of different countries. So there's in UK and Great Britain, it's England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. In fact, I think that's the difference. I think Great Britain includes Southern Ireland, whereas the United Kingdom does not include Southern Ireland. Don't quote me on that one, but I think that may be the difference.
All right. All right. That's great. All right. Where in that whole mix of the country and yeah, where you came? What part of the country did you come from?
England.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the country.
Any particular city you want to shout out?
Grew up just outside London, just southeast of London, a place called Kent.
Okay.
Yeah, Kent is considered like the Garden of England. Is generally speaking, it's a very beautiful place, very scenic, this sort of stuff. The town I grew up in is called the Medway Towns, and it's widely considered like the piece of dog, in the back of the garden.
Oh, okay.
That's the Medway Towns. It's not necessarily the greatest of places to live, if I'm completely honest. Grateful that I grew up there, and I still have a lot of family that live there, so I visit them when I get the chance. But yeah,
Yeah. All right. Um, moving into kind of like your younger life. The first question I have is, did you have such great hair when you were about 10 years old, or is that just something more recent?
yeah, no. As soon as I came out of the womb, I had a full head of hair, and it was all grey.
Nice.
I'm like Benjamin Button, Randy,
Yeah.
reversing
Okay.
age backwards.
So tell me what life was like at like 10 years old, like that point in your life. What did a normal day look like to you? Like include like the family dynamic, any siblings, your parents, kind of day to day. What did it look like for you at about 10 years old?
10 years old, so that would be I was born in 95, so it'd be 2005. I was in year five. Uh, this is how we describe it in England. Uh, Basically, it's primary school. So I'm in my penultimate year of primary school, and at the time, I was my parents were still together at the time. Uh, I remember one thing I remember distinctly from that. We went on one of our only like international vacations. We went to Egypt. That particular year. As a kid, like I love my parents, and my parents gave me everything that they could with what they had. They were, just they lived a simple life. Um, my parents they loved me, and they were there for me. We just, we didn't really have a lot. Like we didn't live beyond our means. We like, we wasn't like completely poor or anything like that either. Um, So yeah, life was life was just life. I didn't really know anything different at the time. Didn't really see much beyond that. Um, how I was at the time as a 10-year-old boy, I was naturally a very shy kid. Um, but at the same time also like very rebellious
Mm.
and like very misbehaved in a lot of ways. I remember giving teachers and as I started to get a little bit older than 10, maybe as I started to become a teenager, more like around 13 on like 12, 13 onwards, I was like a real like little shit. At 10, I maybe hadn't quite hit that phase yet. I was maybe a little bit more well-mannered and a bit more well-behaved at that time. But I remember giving some of my teachers a pretty hard time around that time.
Okay. What all goes into being a little shit in England? Like explain that a little bit to me. Because I know what an American kid is like, but what does that look like in England?
Basically, what that looks like in England it is terrorizing uh, teachers, um, terrorizing maybe other students at the time, um, and terrorizing just the local community pretty much. I guess, when I think back on it, um, I had a lot of, I guess, insecurities, a lot of, I got bullied at different times when I was in
Mm.
school. And so then as a kind of a survival mechanism, you kind of start acting out because it's like the way I saw it. And especially as I got a bit older and went into like what in England we call secondary school, like high school in the UK, in the US, is like, okay, if I act tougher than I am, if I start fights with other people, then people won't like they'll leave me alone pretty much. So
Mm.
there was a lot of that. But I remember being younger and around that sort of age, even going like egging and like Halloween and stuff like that, throwing eggs or just doing stuff to just basically, if I could get a reaction out of other people, like that was like the most entertainment that it was like around at the time. It was like giving other people a hard time and like getting them to react, pretty much. Sounds pretty bad, but yeah, it's true.
Okay. So school wasn't necessarily your strong suit. I take it from what you just said.
No, especially when I was younger. So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was younger. Um, and as I started to get a bit older, I was capable. I was a capable student, but I just never really applied myself. I never really applied the capabilities. And especially as I got older, I actually ended up like really struggled, not struggled, but in secondary school, I actually failed all of my in England we call it the GCSEs. Basically, the end of high school to then go to college, you have to take GCSEs
Mm.
to then go and do A levels, which then takes you to university. And I failed everything at that time. Um, and if it wasn't for, I had one particular teacher, Mr. Ledbetter, shout out to Mr. Ledbetter. I still stay in touch with him, reach out to him from time to time. That man changed my life because he just believed in me. He saw something in me that just wasn't there at the time. And he actually tutored me. And because of the extra effort and the extra energy that he gave me, I was able to then actually pass secondary school, and it allowed me to then continue in life without being a complete and total failure, you know?
Yeah. So um, the dyslexia. I have I have some friends that are dyslexic. I actually taught school for a year, and I had a dyslexic boy in my class. Um, and a lot of times I think that we think about dyslexia as kind of like a handicap, but a lot of times I see that those people are extremely skilled and have abilities beyond just the student that actually learns like a run of the mill student will say. Um, the dyslexic students actually have they have capabilities, they have abilities that are beyond a lot of the other students. Is that was that the case with you? Is there something that you were like you could hyper focus on, or something that you were just like extremely good at because you didn't necessarily focus or put a lot of importance in on your schooling?
Um, I wouldn't really say so, to be honest. I wouldn't directly correlate it with dyslexia. I've always been the type of person who's never been particularly talented at almost anything. Um, the way that I am, I've developed a lot of skill in a lot of things, but just through really this happened more as I started to get older, around the age of like 15, 16. Because up until the age of like my life really changed around the age of 15, 16. And I have a lot of like clear memories from that. At around 10 years old, the memories aren't as clear. But around 15, 16, it was because what happened was I, I got really clear on what I wanted. I
Mm.
got a dream in my mind of like, okay, here's where I want to be, here's where I want to go. And I then started to just outwork and get real focus and just like be really persistent. And so I wouldn't say I'm particularly talented in just about anything, but I have become very skilled just through constant dogged repetition and persistence and just doing and being okay with doing the monotonous thing over and over and over and over and over again until I've developed certain skill sets. And now, as a result, sometimes people see me and they meet me for the first time and might feel like I'm talented, but it's just because of just the work that's being put in behind the scenes to develop skill.
Yeah. Would you say that skills or ability are more important?
Skills or ability? How would you distinguish the difference between skills and ability?
Or I guess a lot of people talk about like natural born talent or things come naturally to them,
Okay,
right?
yeah, yeah. So I see difference between skill and talent. The
Okay.
way I see talent as something that you're kind of innately born with and you're gifted with. I see skill, though, as just something that comes through constant dedication to your art or your craft. So what do I think is better or m more important? I think they're both important to a degree, but I know that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'm a testament to there's many, 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 many people that are way more talented than me than almost every area of life. But most people just aren't willing to do the things I'm willing to do, which is why when it comes to then the results that we've been able to get in our life in the period of time that we're at and the age that we're at, there aren't that many people that are, no, there obviously are lots of people, but in the grand scheme of things, um, there are the majority of people that we will outperform just because of the work that we're willing to put in.
Where did you get that work ethic?
It's a very good question. Um, where did I get that work ethic? I mean, it all comes back to, for me, th what happened when I was around the age of 15, after failing everything. There was two major like life events that happened around that age. One, I failed all of my final exams bar one thing, which was PE. Okay, I failed everything apart from PE. I got like a B. Not even an A in that one. And the other thing that happened around that same sort of age was I watched a film called The Secret. And that was my first exposure to this idea and the concept of like the law of attraction, that you
Yeah.
become what you think about. And at that age, I started to then think to myself, okay, I'm like, well, if this is the case, if this is true and the law of attraction is real, which it is, then who and what do I want to be? And the only thing I could really think of was really two things at that time. I knew one, I wanted to do something I had genuine love and passion for. I didn't want to just do something where I was just trading time for money. And two, I wanted to be that teacher like Mr. Ledbetter. I wanted to be that man for as many other people as I possibly could be.
Mm.
And the only thing I could think of that I really loved to do, and it would give me the ability to be able to impact and influence people the way that I wanted, was to be a professional football player, soccer player for my American friends. If I say soccer straight away, my and any of my friends back home see this, they give me a hard time. So, so that was my original dream was to be a professional football player. And so what happened was I just become obsessed with this dream. And one thing that I've come to learn and learned this later on, just like to be able to put words to this from a very wise mentor of mine. He explained to me that kind of when you have a dream in your mind, when you're focused on the dream, you cannot help but do the work.
Mm.
But when you're focused on the work, it's very like your time is it's going to be grueling and you're going to end up quitting. It's the dream that the thing that excites you that propels you into the future. If you have that and it's clear in your mind, the work is just is whatever. And this is what happened for me. So at the time, I had this massive dream of what I wanted to do was which was being a professional football player. But I realized I knew I had some degree of awareness that I wasn't that great. Like I was like a little bit above average, maybe not even above average, like pretty average to be honest with you. But I was like, well, if the law of attraction is real, then you just got to think it, believe it, achieve it, right? This sort of stuff. But I realized there was action that was required. So I began doing every single thing I could to achieve this dream. I would train literally every single day of the week. When I wasn't training with a team, I would go home and train by myself. If I wasn't training with a ball by myself, I'd go into the gym. If I wasn't in the gym, I would go home and start reading books and studying psychology and leadership and communication and I started going down all these different realms of like Eastern philosophy and like quantum mechanics and like and going into like the law of attraction and understanding these different things basically anything that I could do that would give me an edge to become a better player. Because I knew that I wasn't the most talented player. I was never going to be the most skilled in terms of like the flair of playing with like that type of game. But I knew that I could grow, especially being a good leader, communicating more than anyone else. I could outwork people. And so I was looking for anything that could give me an edge that could help me to grow as a better player and to eventually then make it as a player. And so what ended up happening for me, Randy, let's say I started here. And to play professional, you needed to be like out here. And I made it like somewhere around here. I've played like semi-professional, like low in the English semi-professional leagues. Okay. But it was actually this part here that excited me because I was like, this is growth.
Mm.
And what I learned was when you have a big dream and you get focused on a dream and you start really intentionally working towards this dream, massive growth can start happening.
Wow.
And it was like the idea of growth is it's an infinite game. It's unlimited amount of growth that can happen. So I learned these principles, and then I ultimately failed in my dream as trying to make it as a professional football player. And then I transitioned to a path of pursuing coaching. I went to a university in England in Southampton, and there was actually a degree in football studies and basically, I started just applying all the same principles I was trying to apply as a player into now coaching and my studies. I would outwork everyone in studying. I would study more. I would go and volunteer my time. I would basically do anything I could to give myself an edge. So it was like all this stuff prior was just preparation for me to now pursue. And I'd learned a lot about the game and communication and psychology. All this sort of stuff set me up very well to now go into coaching. Same ideas, same principles, outworking people, basically just doing all of that stuff. I'm going to study more, I'm going to outwork people, I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to like just find out what it is that how can I help and how can I be of service to start creating opportunities for myself. And essentially that's what happened. I basically volunteered here and I leveraged one opportunity for another. I heard about this thing and went there and this just started opening up all these doors for me. And that led to me actually getting my first opportunity to travel to the United States as a coach back in 2016, 2017. I did 2 summers. I leveraged that position to then get a job with as a head coach of the University of Southampton, which was a rival school in Southampton. Went to Southampton Solent. There was University of Southampton. I was the head coach of their women's team. They saw some of the experience I had in the US, and they saw the way that I was through these things. They're like, "Wow, this is great. We'll give you the job." I leveraged that job to then get a job at Chelsea. And then that led to me then getting a job with Liverpool and LA Galaxy and brought me here to Southern California. And really kind of just things have unraveled from there, really.
Huh.
So that's a really long-winded way to say I learned it through this journey at the age of like 15 years old. That's where I learned how to work hard.
So you, if you look back on all that, like I look back at you're focused on this goal and you're reaching for it, you're pushing for it, you're fighting for it, and all this while, um, you're learning a lot of stuff. You're you're acquiring skills, like you were saying. Um, do you still use a lot of those skills, a lot of the knowledge that you learned in that time? Do you use that now?
Every day, every day, the foundation of it, 100%. Because now with the nature of some of the things that I do, I'm no longer coaching soccer, but I take a football. But I still take a coaching type role with the people that I work with in business.
Mm.
So like so much of what I'm doing, even though I work in the financial world, man, I take a role of like a psychologist and a life coach and a marriage counselor and all these different hats I wear as I'm kind of working with different people. And so, so much of what I've learned in that time of, just communication, leadership, psychology, dealing with challenges and adversities, being able to shift your perspective, like all of that I've learned in all of this stuff in the past, this like set me up uh, to be where we're at today, which is why I'm a big and firm believer that, no matter how things hard get in life, no matter what the challenges and adversity that's happening that you're experiencing, it is always happening for you, never to you.
Mm.
And there is always a seed of a positive equivalent within it, if and only if you choose to actually look for that seed. And so that's been the journey and the process for me. There's so much of what I've learned during that time that's just set me up to be where we're at here today.
So you talked a little bit about the law of attraction, and I just back in February maybe I watched that, The Secret. Um, you wanted to be a professional soccer player, and were you like manifesting that and going through all of like what they talk about? You were manifesting that and you were saying it out loud, and were you putting pictures up on your wall and like really imagining yourself in that position?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was doing everything I could to try and to do that. I didn't have It's been kind of a process of trying to figure it out. I remember being around the age of like 15, 16, having like this list of affirmations or these
Mm.
different statements written on a piece of paper and putting it next to my bed. And I remember like when my friends would come over, like, why do you have this like written on your wall? And then thinking like really weird. So yeah, I was doing a lot of that stuff, trying to visualize, trying to hold a picture of it in my mind. I look back, and at that time I wasn't particularly skilled at doing that because that is also a skill, the skill of visualization, the skill of manifestation. Um, Maybe as a part of the reason why it never actually happened for me. Um, but yeah, it's something that now today, especially, I practice every day. I describe it as a business plan. I read it every single morning and every single night, most nights. And it's basically a list of, okay, like what I'm grateful for. It's my reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's an action plan, and then there's a list of I have goals and affirmations on there. And I
Mm.
stand in front of the mirror every morning, every night, and I read that sucker out loud with emotion. And as I'm reading it, I see and feel it as if it's already done.
So how does the law of attraction which you say is real. Um, how does that apply to, let's say, fate or, I guess if you're religious, you could say God's will for your life? Um, how does that all relate to each other? Because, like you said, like you were visualizing that, you were reaching for that, you were affirming yourself in that, and yet your life took on a different path. How does the law of attraction and the path that you ended up walking down, how does that apply to each other?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, the way that I look at it is like we can never connect the dots looking forward. We can only ever connect the dots looking backwards.
Mm,
Looking forward at that time, if you'd asked me, oh, or told me, Connor, you're going to own like a financial agency and do some of the things I'm doing today, I would have thought that you were crazy. But now I look back at it and I'm like, oh, it makes total sense why I had to go through those things in order to become the man that I am today. Another really powerful quote that a different mentor of mine has shared with me. He said that God doesn't call the qualified, but he qualifies the called.
mm,
And what does that mean? That means basically all of the crap that you had to go through was a part of the qualification process for you to become the man or the woman that you are today. And you're now uniquely positioned to be able to help the person you once was. Now, how does this play in when you talk about the idea of fate and the idea of the law of attraction? And it's an interesting thing. I don't know if I completely have the answer. I'm definitely not an expert on this sort of stuff. I'm like well studied on this. But one thing that comes to my mind is that the source, God, the universe, whatever someone chooses to believe in, it only can work through you. It can't do it for you.
mm,
So it's not like in my mind, there's obviously, here's my opinion, right? There's obviously a creator of this world. Like the world is almost too perfect for it to just be a coincidence and random sequence of events. No, it's like it's too perfect. But we are a co-creator. We're a co-creator in this world. The world isn't just happening to us, we are creating the world to some degree. We have that same creative power that is like divinely bestowed upon us.
mm,
The kingdom of God is within all men, right? And I actually personally believe that power is our imagination. And through our imagination, we can actually start to create things in our future. And for some people, this stuff might sound a bit airy-fairy and woo-woo, but man, I've studied some of the people that are some of the most successful people in the planet, and this is something that isn't like a new age thing. This is something that is literally biblical. That if you look at all the wisest men throughout history, they've all disagreed upon many things, but the one thing that they are in complete and unanimous agreement is that we become what we think about. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
laying down some scripture here.
Laying it down. I pull. In my time, I'm able to pull out from many different sources of wisdom um, to kind of guide me on my journey. I grew up in the Catholic Church, so I've been able to glean some of that, and I've also been fascinated by studying different Eastern philosophy and things like this. So it's all been of support on me on my journey.
Yeah. Wow. The Catholic, you grew up Catholic. I'm sorry, this is a little tangent, but what was that like? I gotta know.
It's fine.
You go to mass every Sunday and
Yeah, went to go to church every Sunday, and I was a part of a Catholic primary school.
mm,
So like during the week, we'd go into like our primary school was right next to the church, so we would go into the church in the week and like pray or whatever and sing hymns and um, I was even an altar boy uh, for a period of time. I like wear the gown and carry the candle down and stand up on the stage with the priest and all this sort of stuff, you know. So it's an interesting experience.
Do you think that there's anything that you learned in school, in the Catholic school or at church, um, that you use today in business? Like, maybe is there any lessons there that you learned that you still apply to business today? Are you still Catholic?
Not practicing.
Not practicing. Okay.
I, there isn't anything that comes to my mind. If I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you here, my experience of not just the Catholic Church, but of religion in general, like I am a believer, I believe in God, but there is something that just doesn't sit right with me about religion,
Mm.
in that it comes with so much extra baggage and so much extra dogma that I don't really buy into it. And I don't know, this might upset some people, and I'm like, whatever. Like, the way that I see religion and the many different religions in the world, I view it like this: the truth is the truth. The truth resonates,
Mm.
and I see religion as just. I think of it, the truth as being the city center, to use this analogy. And there are many different paths that lead to the truth. And here's the thing, it's like, I don't know. Because there's like so much religion and the world, and so much of it is just dependent on the piece of land that you were born in. Like if you were born in a certain part of the world, that you're probably just going to believe in a certain religion versus a different part of the world, you're probably going to believe in a certain part of religion. I believe that all religion has a degree and an element of truth at the core of it. And I believe that a lot of it points back to just the basic principles of like love thy neighbor, be a good person, care and love other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't necessarily subscribe to one particular religion, but I do my utmost in my daily living to embody some of the principles that religion uh, teaches. And this is the part then what I didn't like about my upbringing is like, well, people would go to church and they would pray on a Sunday, and then every other day of the week they're like not really living those principles, you know? I'm like, there's something that's like not quite in alignment here. So I don't know. I haven't really completely unpacked this in my mind. I'm kind of just like ranting at this point.
It's interesting. It's interesting. All right. So that was kind of a little tangent. Um, but you worked with some big soccer organizations, right? Let's just say a 15-year-old thought he wanted to coach soccer. What would you recommend that he start doing today?
Go and coach soccer. Yeah,
How did
go and do the thing. Like go and volunteer, help with like a local team, and just do the thing. So many times we spend so much time thinking about doing the thing. And don't get me wrong, having plans and creating these sorts of stuff and the whole visualization thing, that's great. Trust me, that is great. You should do all that, but go and do the thing. Nothing at
Mm.
the end of the day really replaces just action. So just find out, act today, whether you're ready or you're not ready, and go and take action, and you will figure out the path along the journey. I've never had any stuff figured out along the way. But when you go out into the world, you take action, you make things happen, you will start to figure out the path as you go. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Like go and find a local team, go and volunteer for them. Go and then, and as you start doing that, you're going to start learning as you go, start networking, reach out to people, whether it be people in your local area, um, that have like sport, like teams, depending on whatever sport it is that you want to coach in, and go and get involved in the community. But do it
Mm-hmm.
from a perspective of giving. And this is one of my biggest lessons and biggest philosophies that I've learned in the world of business. And it's unfortunate that most people I see in business do not follow this philosophy. So I read a book going back about 2 years ago. It's a book called The Go Giver, one of the most influential books on my in my life in general. And just the general idea of it, you can kind of tell from even the title of it is just give to people. Don't give with the expectation to receive, but just give. Give first, give more than you receive. And when you do that, and you do it without expectation to receive, but you remain open to receiving at the same time, God, the universe will return to you in abundance 10 times over. And so go out into the world, volunteer, see who needs help with what, and see what you can do to help them. Help them first. And when you do that, doors will start opening for you. Go the extra mile, start learning, read the books, go and do the seminars, go and do extra courses, go and do whatever you need to do. Man, I tell you, doors will just start opening up.
Do you think you would have been as passionate about soccer and like really pursued it and like really thought that that was a possibility? Would have you been so obsessed about it if you would have had a smartphone, TikTok, Fortnite, all this stuff?
Uh, I don't know. I had video games. I went for a stage of, I'll tell you, bro, but I have like a bit of an addictive personality. Um, Even at that younger age, so there was no shortage of distractions. I went through a phase where I was addicted to RuneScape. That was my first. I don't know if you ever played that game or any of you heard of that game before. It's kind of
I've heard of it. Never
like a
played
World
it.
of Warcraft type game. This is like must have been around like 11, 12 years old where I started to play that and I just totally addicted. Totally addicted. And then as I started to get older, I got an Xbox and it was Call of Duty and FIFA and these sorts of things. So like I have my fair share of addictions. Um, I do think nowadays there are more distractions than ever. And I am of the belief that a lot of this stuff is there intentionally to distract you.
Mm.
Like when you understand just the way that like Instagram and let's just use Instagram as an example. If you're if you're using it for free, there's something that's being sold. Most people don't realize that they themselves are the product on Instagram. Is your eyeballs, your attention is the product that they're selling to the advertisers. So if you're giving up your time and your attention, you're literally being used. And the way that Instagram is and TikTok, like I never even downloaded TikTok. Like and Instagram, I deleted the apps off my phone because like the Reels and like YouTube Shorts, like I if I have that on my phone, I'll just like waste time.
Mm.
Waste so much time just like scrolling, doom scrolling through like random stuff. And the way that these algorithms are set up, it's just like an echo chamber of just nonsense. So this is why I believe that, today more than ever, you have to take control and guard your mind. We've always had to do it, but now more than ever, there has been a battle for the mind. There is, I believe, a spiritual warfare happening in the world right now. And a lot of this is through the realms of social media. They're stealing life force from you. They're stealing your time and your attention. And it's interesting because even yesterday, I was hanging out at the pool and I was sitting in the pool and I was just looking around and I see a lot of people like sat together and they just like sat on their phones, scrolling. And trust me, I'm guilty of this myself. But I was just making me think like, how much time do we really just spend just wasting uh, on this stuff? And I'll be completely honest with you, like this is a battle of mine. That's why I deleted the apps
Mm.
because it's like my most valuable resource is my time. There isn't anything more valuable than my own time. And if my time is being stolen away by Instagram or TikTok, man, and even if it's just 10 minutes here and 30 minutes there and 1 hour there, that time adds up very fast. And that could have been time spent working on skills, working on doing whatever you want, spending quality time with family. So I'm
Mm.
not sure exactly what your question was originally, but can you remind me what your question was? I kind of went on a bit of a tangent myself.
I asked if you think that you would have been as obsessed with soccer if you would have had TikTok or a smartphone, Fortnite. Yeah, you went into the video games, but and the
Yeah,
social media. So,
I would say so. It's hard to tell, hindsight is 2020, but like even now with all this stuff, my obsession is business.
mm.
Business is my sport, is my game now, and I'm obsessed with it. I eat, breathe, and sleep, that sort of stuff.
So I'm just thinking from like a parent's point of view, because like a lot of parents go for the well, we're going to delete TikTok and we're going to delete Instagram on your phone, and you're not allowed to have any social media or video games. Okay, that's usually the approach that we think of like most parents taking, but would it help rather to get their kids obsessed about something like soccer or something that's useful?
I would say so.
Maybe start there.
Yeah, I'm no expert when it comes to child psychology and parenting, but I would say so. I think, an obsession sometimes is a word that is used in a negative context, but I think that obsessions, when managed and in a healthy way, can be very positive.
Mm.
I think when you get a really clear dream and a goal in your mind, and you just, it just fuels this burning desire in your heart, which is why, like, in my daily interactions with people, I'm always asking people, what is it that you want? Where is it you're going? What does that look like? Because
Mm-hmm.
just even the conversation of me asking them, I'm hoping that it just plants a seed in their mind of them spending a bit more time thinking about what they want.
Yeah, I think that in today, in society today, reflection is a superpower, and I start to see that, or I'm more and more convinced of that um, as time goes on. All right, so you coached with some big organizations over in England, or Chelsea and Liverpool are in England, I suppose.
Hmm.
I have no idea about soccer teams over the pond. Um, but you moved to the U.S. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you get here to the U.S. and why did you come to the U.S.?
I did 2 summers in 2016, 2017. I got a little bit of exposure to the United States. I went back to the UK after that. I finished off one of my professional coaching licenses, the
Mm,
UEFA B license. And then while I was finishing off that B license, one of the guys who I had become friends with while I was coaching in the US prior, he had posted something on social media about him now working with LA Galaxy in Southern California.
mm,
And so I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, are they hiring? Is there any opportunities to be able to come out and be out there?" And he put me in touch with like one of the managers there, I guess. And then one thing led to the next. I come to Southern California a couple months later, and it was always a part of in my mind. I wanted to travel the world and coach soccer.
mm.
That was a big thing for me. I wanted to travel the world and to be able to coach in different continents. So actually, one of my dreams was to actually coach on every continent on the planet. Um, and so then I come to Southern California with the original intention to stay for a few months and then maybe look for the next journey. But then I come to Southern California and I was like, oh wait, I actually kind of like it here. I like the weather, I like the lifestyle, I like just a lot about it. I like the women are pretty nice in Southern California. I met my wife here. So one thing kind of led to the next. And yeah, I was like, oh, I feel like making this home.
Good deal. And when was that? What year was that you moved to the U.S.?
That was August 2019 that I moved to the United States.
Mm,
So that coaching job. So it was like right before the pandemic. They originally gave me a 3-month contract basically from August through to like November, December. I went back home in December 2019. They gave me a year-long contract, so I came back to do that at the beginning of 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and it kind of was different. And then it was in that time that I then started to transition out of coaching into a business journey.
Tell me a little bit about that transition. What did that look like? Going from coaching to having your own business, essentially, is how it ended, right?
Hmm.
Coming out of that. Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what happened was, being in Southern California, I realized it's kind of an expensive place to live. And what would happen is because I'd only coach at night, during the day, I love going to the beach. And it's something that
Mm.
we would do a lot. And then like there's PCH, right? It's the road that goes uh up the coast in Southern California and goes all the way up north. Um, but as I was driving down this road, I'd always look at some of the homes looking over the ocean. And I'd always wonder to myself, I'm like, how is it that some people afford to live in these types of homes? Like these are multi-million dollar homes looking over the ocean. I'm like, how? And this then started this curiosity in my mind to try and figure out how. And I come to learn that it boiled down to two main things, really at the core of it. Here's really the philosophy at the core of it. They went from this realm of what we call single-handed income to this realm of multi-handed income. And in order to have multi-handed income, it's really two things that you can do. You either learn and understand the game of money and have money work for you, or you have a system at work for you. And you put people to work within that system. That's called a business. So I started to learn about these ideas, and this opened my mind to the world of business, and I'm trying to understand about money. So I started my own like coaching business where I was doing like private soccer coaching on the side. And I remember like getting paid directly to coach someone soccer. I got paid. I remember getting paid $75. My first coaching session got paid like $75 for 1 hour to coach two kids. And all I was doing was just like kicking the ball around with them and having some fun, like playing with them. Like, and they paid me $75. And this like started triggering in my mind like possibilities. Like, oh, well, if I coach this and do this and have this many players, like this started to get the cogs turning in my mind.
Mm.
Fast forward a little bit, I'm in a gym and someone introduced me to like a direct selling business. And my mind had already kind of started opening up. So I was like very open to this opportunity about that. And then as I'm in this direct selling business, I'm networking, I'm trying to like find prospects and clients. And I meet this gentleman by the name of Barry Wong. And Barry Wong's extremely successful guy, multi-millionaire, had multiple successful businesses in the past, and he owned like a financial education agency. And
Mm.
so he starts teaching me about some of the things around how money works. And he also started to share with me like these concepts around business. And he was very open, very transparent. He showed me like his own businesses. He showed me how much money he was making. He showed me some of his own investments. So like, damn, okay, whatever you're doing, I want to do what you're doing. So that he started to then coach me and mentor me and introduce me to other mentors. And meanwhile, I'm still coaching full time. And the coaching job, they gave me a lot of security. Like they gave me a car, they gave me a home to stay in, they took care of my visa. So they kind of had me under their thumb a little bit. But as I began to try and build things, I tried to negotiate with them to be able to continue with my business, and they wasn't really having it. So I took a leap of faith and I left the coaching realm. I quit the job, took a massive leap of faith, and to try and then pursue business. And it was a big risk. It was a very illogical thing to do because of the things that they gave me, like that car and the home and the visa status and all this sort of stuff.
Mm.
Um, but again, I just had this dream in my mind of what it is that I wanted to do. And I just made this all in committed decision to pursuing that. And the first year of me doing that was very difficult, Randy. I really struggled because I was kind of new to the country. I didn't have like this big network of people that I could lean on or anything like that. And my first year in business, I was pretty much homeless. I was lucky I had some friends that would let me stay with them. I slept on people's sofa, or sometimes I slept out in my car. And Barry fortunately had like a spare room, and he let me stay there. And I said I'd pay him the rent for a later time, and he agreed to that. And so that was kind of my first year. And in business, it was tough. And then I met my wife during that time, and she started helping me out, and things from there. When she came into the fold, things blew up, and now we're at the point where we're doing a lot better than we was previously. I'll just say that much. Like what we were doing annually as a soccer coach is now starting to become more of a monthly income. So it's been pretty exciting, the journey.
You never lived on Skid Row or anything like that.
No, I didn't go that far. Fortunately, I had made some friends and had enough trust with them where they were willing to let me stay with them for a little while.
Okay, but yeah, you're living out of your car. You're staying in people's guest rooms or spare rooms. Like, what's going on in your mind over that time? Like, it, I feel like a lot of people would get in that situation, and the first thing that would go through their mind was like, oh man, like this obviously isn't working. I need to go get a job. I need to stop doing business. Right? What's going through your mind at that point?
Obsession,
Obsession.
obsession with the dream. I had still my coaching business I was using to like generate a little bit of income.
Mm.
But I was just again so focused on the dream and where we were going and the possibilities. And I burnt my boat. So it was like there was no option B. There was no way on earth I was going to go back to the UK. There was no way
Why?
that hmm?
Why?
Because I was like I just didn't want to. I was like, this is where I want to be. My
Mm.
personal belief is that America is the greatest country on the planet. It's the land of opportunities, the land of the American dream. And if I was going to go back to the UK for that there was no, I just felt called and compelled to be here in the United States, and especially Southern California, in particular at that time. Like, this is the place where I'm going to be able to make all my dreams come true. If
Mm.
I go back to the UK, then I'm like, I got nothing really. I got my family and friends, don't get me wrong, but in terms of like being able to make dreams come true, it was all or nothing. And it was difficult, brother. I'll be honest with you, because like at the time, my mom was going through some serious health challenges, and she unfortunately passed away. And still to this day, I haven't been able to go home, um, because we're in the process of green card and stuff like this, and that's been a whole process to be able to take care of. I haven't been able to go home. I didn't get to go home for her funeral.
Wow.
I've had grandparents pass away. I've had nephews and nieces being born. I haven't been able to go home since August 2020. The end of the 3 year contract when I went home to then renew and then come again. I haven't been able to go home since then.
Wow. So that's happening while you're homeless and all. Really?
Yeah. And I didn't tell my friends and my family that I was going through all this stuff. I was doing it for them though. This was like the driving thing for me. And I talked about earlier about having your reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom was like the big driving force, like as a reason why I wanted to be able to I wanted to be able to take care of her in her final years. And that was just like this big motivator. I wanted to be able to retire my dad. I want to be able to be able to go home and like take care of some of the people that I grew up with. And I saw this as the opportunity to make that happen. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to the position that I wanted to before my mom passed. She passed away in 2022. Um, but now, like, her legacy is now a motivator for me.
Mm.
And I love my mom. My mom did everything that she could with everything that she had, but she was just never taught any of these ideas about not only just about money or like success, but she didn't really have a big dream. My mom had a difficult life and she got beat down. And as a result for that, she turned to alcohol, she would smoke, she wasn't always the most pleasant of people to be around, always. But she didn't know any better, right? She didn't have a mentor or someone who could teach her and guide her through this sort of stuff.
Mm,
And it's sad to me that I see so many people that are like that,
yeah.
that are just like my mom was. You know, they're good people, they're honest, they're hardworking people. See people like that all the time. But no one's ever taken the time to sit down with them and ask them, hey, what do you want? What's your goal? What's your dream? If I could show you a way to be able to make these things happen, would you even do it? No one's taking the time to sit down with them and put them on and showing them how these, because when it comes to money in business, it's a game.
Let's just clarify here a little bit. So what would you say that you do for a job now? What is your business?
Yeah, I own a financial education agency. We teach
Okay,
people how to go from single-handed income to multi-handed income.
like Barry.
Like Barry, yes, exactly.
Okay. All right, so that's what you're doing now.
Yep.
Would you say that one of the biggest reasons why you're doing that is because of, just seeing like what your mom went through and like seeing your friends at home and seeing people without dreams and ambitions? That's why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. The reason why I went into coaching was because of that teacher, right? I wanted to be
Mm,
that teacher for as many other people as I possibly could be. And then as I start learning some of this stuff, it resonates with me very deeply because of some of my personal experiences growing up as a kid.
mm,
But really, then I'm kind of caught in this crossroads between, well, what's going to have more of an impact on people's lives? Is it me teaching them how to play soccer, or is it me teaching them how to be able to build and create wealth for themselves? Teaching them how to go from single-handed to multi-handed so that they can have time and money freedom. And so the rest has been history really since then.
all right. What's your plan for the future? What is it that Connor wants most in life? I know you ask that's what you like to ask other people, but what is it that you want most in life?
Yeah, for me, the things that I value most are two things. It's freedom and family. So when I talk about freedom, well, a big part of that is the financial aspect.
Mm,
So a big part of this is building our agency. We own a couple of different locations across the United States, and to be able to build that large enough, so it pays us an income where we can create enough net worth so that we can be completely financially free, have total and complete freedom of time and money. And that is also then a part of this wider mission because if I have the time and the money and I have the resources, well, I can be first a good example, but I can also use those resources to now lift other people up.
mm,
And so this is the driving force. I want to be able to be in a position where I can do that for myself and for my own family, to be the one for my family. But it's not just going to stop there. That is just a stepping stone on the journey to be able to then help others to be able to do the same thing.
yeah.
So I have a lot of big goals and dreams for the future. Um, I want to just the overarching thing for me, Randy, at the core of it is I want to become the best version of myself and to help others to be able to do the same thing.
Mm,
And that's going to take many different forms. I see myself, I see myself at some point being an investor, investing into people and projects and ideas that I believe in. Um, I see myself doing a lot of philanthropy type work, helping out with different causes that I believe in that I think are going to have it's going to have a positive impact in the world. I eventually want to get to the point, like I love communicating and speaking like this. I want to be on a point where I'm speaking um, in front of larger audiences uh, and getting paid to do that and to spread more of a positive message out to the world. So there's a number of different factors that come into this, but the overarching thing that underpins it all is becoming the best version of myself and helping others to be able to do the same thing.
it's awesome. Well, we're at about an hour now, and so I like to keep it about an hour. We could go on and on. This has been really, really good. Um, I do have one more question about the whole financial agency or the education part. And this is my own this is my own like stereotype uh, way of thinking, I guess. But like, do you ever meet any resistance? Because here's my thing. If I met you face to face in LA, right? If I hadn't, and like I just and somebody, you know, somebody puts me in contact with you, right? And I meet you for the first time and you want to, teach me about money or, help me invest or whatever you help people do. Do people ever like resist you because you're not like an American? Because here's where I go with that. Like, if I'm watching a movie, I don't know why, but they always make the villain, you know, an Englishman, or
Really?
he's got an English accent. I know that that can be like the sign of somebody that's, you know, an elite, maybe pompous, or somebody that is out of touch with like the peasants, so to speak.
Interesting. Very interesting perspective. I actually, in my experience, I found, and people, here's been my experience, that actually having an English accent when it comes to this line of work, it's actually helped me.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know why or what it is, but generally speaking, English people they have a very positive perception in the United States. Generally speaking, that's not the case for throughout the whole of the United States, but generally, in my experiences of talking to people, people are very like impressed by an English accent,
Mm,
or I don't know what it is, the perception exactly, but it actually leads to a degree of respect being there. Um,
really?
yeah, I have found that. Now, it could be there could be a bunch of people that are like they've ignored me because they have an English accent. That could be the case, but every interaction I've had has generally been a positive one with having an accent. Um, Regardless of that, though, yes, I have a ton of people that are resisting everything that I do all the time. That happens all the time. That's just the nature of not only in my business, but just in business in general.
Yeah.
One thing I've come to learn to be successful in any business, you have to be able to deal with rejection. That is just the net. That's just a part of it, right? Now, with the financial piece in particular, though, uh, people do resist it, and sometimes rightly so because the traditional financial services industry, in its very nature, is probably one of the most untrustworthy industries on the entire planet. There are so many people within that industry that have been, just the industry itself has been taking advantage of people for centuries.
Mm,
And this is why we say that, we're a part of the industry, but we're not of it. And the way that we do things is in direct opposition to the way the traditional industry has done things for so long. Like the industry is very transactional. They don't want to just try and sell people stuff, whereas we take an educational approach. In
mm,
fact, excuse me, what we've actually done is we've figured out a way to have some of these big financial companies, they actually pay us out of their marketing and advertising budget. And because they're the companies that pay us, it allows us to provide the education at zero cost to them. And even though I'm like, hey, this is free. You never have to pay me to do this. Even though I ask almost anyone, I'm like, hey, would you want to become financially independent? They're like, yep. I'm like, well, in order for you to become financially independent, do you think it's important for you to learn and understand how money works? They're like, yep. Still, regardless of all of that, people will resist
huh.
because people are inherently fearful and inherently they will procrastinate.
Mm,
And inherently they will avoid change. So this is why so much of what I do is actually understanding psychology and how to influence people to be able to help them make decisions that are in their best interest.
mm,
That's also what makes this, that's why there's actually a need for what it is that we do. Because if everybody was like, oh yeah, learning about money is great and everyone's educated about money, there really wouldn't be a need about what it is that we do. But because there is such a problem with this and people do have so much resistance, it actually just creates a massive opportunity to be able to help a ton of people with something that they clearly need a lot of help with right now.
how can people get in touch with you, or don't you want people getting in touch with you?
Yeah, people can get in touch with me. I'm on maybe sometimes the best way to do it, unless they have my direct cell, would just be social media. I'm on Instagram, even though I deleted the app. LinkedIn, if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, I'm available on LinkedIn. You just type in my name, you can find me there. Um, or if Yeah, that's probably the best sources. I would say LinkedIn. Um, I can give them my email if you want to share that in in the description somewhere, and people can email me or email my team. I'm happy to be in contact.
All right. I got 6 questions here, and they're on the lighter side. Rapid fire. You can take as long or as short as you, or you don't have to take any time at all to answer them. But just a little digging into your personality and characteristics.
Okay.
What is your go to snack and drink combo at a gas station?
Oof. Okay. Good question. Snack and drink combination. You know what I do really like, especially if I'm on a day where I'm like working a lot or something like that. I like a Bang energy drink.
Mm.
If not, it'll be water. Water or a Bang energy drink. What do I like as a snack? Um, like nut bars or trail mix or maybe some chips. Uh, Man, I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. I like candy bars and stuff like this too. So sometimes I like getting myself a candy bar.
Okay.
In it, I'll say this real quick. America sucks at candy bars. In England, so we have something called Cadbury's chocolate, and we have like the best chocolate. In fact, it's my wife's birthday coming up at the end of this month, and I asked some of my family to send over boxes of like Cadbury's, so that we received some a couple of days ago, and she's all excited because we got bars of Cadbury chocolate.
Nice. Nice. All right. Would you consider Honey Nut Cheerios breakfast soup?
Would I consider it breakfast soup?
Yeah.
Consider it a bowl of cereal?
Okay. So no.
So no, I wouldn't consider it breakfast soup. No,
All right. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
no.
Interesting. In your opinion, who is the greatest music artist of all time? Or you could just go with who your favorite is. Doesn't have to be, I guess it doesn't have to be the greatest of all time. Just your favorite music artist.
Man, um, my taste in music is very diverse.
Mm.
Greatest or my favorite? I don't know. I mean, growing up as a kid, I listened to a lot of like rap and hip hop. So like Eminem, I
Mm.
would put up there. My mind also went to Bob Marley. It was like it's a very different. Um, I also love the Arctic Monkeys.
Ah,
It's like an English band, like indie rock and roll. So
nice.
it's
All
very
right.
diverse taste in music.
What is something that most people don't know about you?
One thing that most people don't know about me is that I'm actually naturally very shy and very introverted,
Mm.
or I used to be very shy. Like especially as growing up as a kid, like cripplingly shy, and I
Wow.
still to this day deal with elements of social anxiety. But I've had to train myself out of that because I knew in order to live the life I wanted to live and have the impact that I wanted to have, I had to overcome that.
Oh, there's so many questions I want to ask with that, but that's good. That's good. If you could have dinner with anyone from history, who would it be? All the way up to the present day. Maybe there's somebody living today you want to have dinner with.
And if anyone that I could go and have dinner with, who would it be? Man, um, one of the first people that came to my mind was Muhammad Ali.
Mm.
Yeah,
Why's that? Why would you want to have dinner with him?
his story is his example inspired me in so many different ways.
Mm.
Just like the idea of like his affirmation of I am the greatest. He was saying that before he ever was, and he was training his mind to be the greatest before he ever was, and um just some of the resistance that he faced and went through, and he was a man who had strong beliefs and values, and he stood for what he believed in against all of the odds.
It's good. It's good. All right, that's all I got. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's great to have this conversation. I feel like we got a lot of value out of this conversation, so thanks a lot, Connor.
My pleasure, Randy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to everybody that watched all the way to the end. If you liked what you saw here, subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok. And remember, go out there and mind your own business.